Welcome to Toy Business Unboxed, your gateway to the secrets of the toy industry. Here, Jason Shea, a toy entrepreneur and expert in the field.
Every product we develop is really inspired by some of the real life experience that we have with our son.
60% of all toys last year were sold on Amazon, which is incredible.
Be passionate about it because it's a road, it's a journey.
Like when you have an idea that you think is like gonna somewhat like change the world, make things better, I'd say go for it.
We'll guide you through the enchanting world of toy design, marketing, and manufacturing. Now let the unboxing begin.
Hi, welcome to another episode of Toy Business Unboxed. I'm your host, Jason Shea. Today, we are thrilled to chat with Brent, the heart behind Grandpa Beck's games. He and his wife turned their family's love for card games into a successful game business over the years and bringing families and friends together with every single game they created. From his year as an airline pilot to running a successful family-centered business with their children and grandchildren, Brent had a lot of up and down of growing the game company that he can share with us today on the episode, and also talk about like all the different wonderful board game that he have also created over the years. Thank you so much for joining us on today's episode.
My pleasure. It's great to be with you, Jason.
Yeah, so can you first start out by sharing with our audience what inspired you to start the board game company or the card game company to begin with? So.
Well, a lot of times necessity is what creates invention. And about 20 years ago, when I was flying as an airline pilot, a lot of the airlines were having bankruptcies and losing their pensions and having difficulties. So I was looking for a little something to try and do to possibly add to my retirement or to have a little more stability.
Yeah.
And so that thought process led me to think of ideas, but I didn't want to sell something I didn't really believe in or do something that I didn't, whatever. So we learned of an idea for a game that my daughter's husband's uncle taught them. There was a face card game that we played for a long time, and I thought it'd be so much better if that game was printed where it had illustrations and if it had optimized card counts instead of a standard deck of cards, and if the rules were improved upon. And so that we've always played a lot of card games and enjoyed that kind of luck of the draw and the dynamics of card game play. So that's what the first idea was, to improve that one game, which took us years to figure out how to optimize, and then how to find some way to illustrate it and some way to print it, and then some way to distribute it. It was all very much a slow learning process with lots of challenges, but we stuck with it. And so we started the company in 2008, started selling things in 2012. And so now we've sold about, I think 2.7 million games and sell about 500,000 games a year.
Congratulations on the success.
Yeah, so it's been an interesting process and a very interesting life experience, and I got to meet a lot of interesting people around the world. Now we have one of the games in 16 languages and growing, so we're having an interesting experience.
So when you first started, I think this is also very common for a lot of entrepreneurs I talk to, because that's also how I started, because I have a full-time career and I was trying to start this toy business on top of my career. How do you balance the demand of launching a game company while working as an airline pilot, which is also very busy? You must be like flying around a lot. So. Yeah,
the good thing about airline pilot job is you don't usually work a 9-to-5 job. The schedules are varied, and you can kind of adjust your schedule. And also, when you fly somewhere, then you have time on the ground before you can fly back. And so, while I was in a hotel, I could use that time to work on things and to contact people on the phone and on the computer. So instead of playing around just socially or just exercising or something, I was able to use that productive time on the ground. And plus, we'd go to like maybe 6 different conventions a year for different reasons, and I would trade my schedule around to try and work harder for 3 weeks and then get a week off to do the convention.
Oh, whoa. Okay. Yeah, that's definitely a lot of juggling. Yeah. And I remember when I first started my business, I was having meeting while I was commuting to work.
I was always thinking about it, always working on it, making notes and like I say, spent a lot of time on the phone, and then we'd go to all these conventions, and but it was able to be flexible. And most of my kids, we have 5 kids, they were pretty much all grown before we started the business actively. So it wasn't taking time away from the family as much because the kids were all out of high school then.
Yeah, and that actually lead to my question perfectly, because I was going to ask you. I know your company is also really focusing on family value and is also a family business. How does the role of your family member play in the business? And I think the picture behind you could also tell tell that. Maybe you can also explain the picture behind you with all the cards.
Yeah, in our most known international game, Skull King, there's pirate faces, and so when we were making the game, so well, gee, we have 7 pirates, we need 7 faces, and we have 5 kids, so let's use our faces. And so, so on the wall there, I'm the Skull King, my wife is the Tigress, the 5 pirates are the 5 kids, each illustrated as the pirates. And at one point, that was like a part of a tablecloth for a convention. And so I made it a wall hanging out of it because we changed the tablecloth to another style.
I see.
But our artist did a really great job of bringing a character into each illustration. And our kids, most of them have other careers. One's 2 of them are stay-at-home moms, and but one of them whose husband is a doctor, she does social media for us in between being the mom of 5 kids. And one son. Two sons have different jobs, but they spend some time with us part-time and have helped create some games. And then our youngest son's wife is like an office manager, does a lot of office duties for us. So and my wife, has just spends extra time whenever we have to work on things together, and creates a lot of content and a lot of the game mechanics, and works with our artist on creating the concepts for the artwork. So a lot of work all around, but the kids are all supportive and involved. And one of the sons basically came up with the mechanics for 3 of the games, and another son 2 of the games. So they're involved in the game creation as well.
I see. And I think a lot of your games are also inspired by different. Can we kind of talk about the first game that you created a little bit, and also on your website? I can also share my screen, but. Can we talk about how you started the first game and what you mentioned it earlier? So
the game is now called Gnoming Around, but when we first started, it was called Golf, and it was kind of a golf themed game taken off from the golf face card game, and so that's the one we improved on. But after a while, we decided to make it a little more whimsical and give it a kind of a more of a fantasy theme with the little gnomes instead of just a golf.
This one, right?
Yeah, because it wasn't quite as it wasn't maybe too golfy enough for golfers, but a little too golfy for moms and kids. And our primary audience is moms and kids and grandmas and stuff. So we decided to make it a little more whimsical, and it did a lot had better reviews at that point. But we've been selling that game since 2012, and it's always sold through. And so we keep all of our games keep selling more all the time. They've never gone out of stock. I mean, out of our line.
I see. So this is one of the very first game that you have, and
it's the improved version of it.
And you have created so many different games over the year as well. Do you have like a target on how many new games you are publishing every single year?
It's not really. That's not the prime motivation. The prime motivation is to create the game and have it ready when it's ready. We like they say with the old saying about wines, there's no wine before it's time. And in this case, we don't publish the game until we think it's ready. And we have some games we've been working on for 9 years, and some games come together in 9 months. So it's really a matter of when the game is ready. And it's sometimes frustrating that we work on a game and then we say, we're not quite ready. So we put it on the sideline a little bit and work on a different game. We introduced a couple new games last year. We have a brand new one coming out in January that I'm really excited about. And then we have several others that are in different stages of work. Some of them are partly illustrated. We're still working on exactly nailing down the mechanics a little bit. So it's a process, and we don't have a specific goal to put a number of games. It's more of just making sure they're all good quality.
I see. Is there a specific kind of age group that you're trying to hit? I know some board game is more geared toward mature audience, but for your company, do you have a certain group in mind?
We really try to make all of our games fit a wide demographic, everything from something that 7, 8, 9-year-olds can play up through seniors. But if people, we really loved seeing when kids and parents and grandparents are all around the table together, or groups of young adults, or just groups of kids or groups of seniors. Really, we go for, and our games are all designed for a really wide demographic, and also to be infinitely replayable. And we have many reports from people with different titles, whichever happens to be their favorite, where they'll be playing the same game for years, every weekend or every evening, or we just all kinds of fun interactions we get from people who, especially over the Halloween holiday, we got a lot of fun interactions with people that dress up as all the pirates in the game and have a game party.
Okay,
so
nice. Yeah.
Everything from the Kraken to mermaids to all the different pirates, specifically like the different pirates. And then they have a game night, and maybe they even make all the recipes as well as a part of the game night. So it's people really get into it. It's fun to see.
I see. And one more thing that I think a lot of the entrepreneur we all face is there's always going to be struggle and challenges while we're growing our businesses. Over your careers of growing the board game companies, what are some of the challenges that you would like to share, and like what is your major takeaway from those challenges?
Basically, problems are part of the business, and like the very first game, we had our time finding an artist, and we happened to find an artist who was someone that my wife's father had known, who had made a game, and we started with him, and he designed the game. But when we first ordered the first order of it, we used a factory that he recommended, and when we got the games back, we ordered 5,000 copies of the game as he designed it, and they were all totally defective.
Okay.
The printing was all splotchy, and so those were a total loss. And then we decided to try printing in the U.S., but that was way too expensive. And then when we came up with the second game, Cover Your Assets, we reprinted the box that we printed from the U.S. To make them branded together more as a brand. And so we ended up throwing away all the boxes, which cost like $2 each back then, to rebox them to make them match the brand. And so it took us like basically 3 tries to get the first one to go. And that was all money coming out of pocket. And we were making money. And then we continued as we kept trying to grow. And we decided to be self-publishers instead of trying to sell it off to a publisher. And that was a long-term plan, but it took a long time to become profitable. So we were losing money for a long time, but luckily I had a good job. I could afford to spend money every month on the business instead of make money. So I kept working my job. And so it took a long time of losing money, probably 6 years or more years after we started the company, before it started paying off the past debt and growing profitable.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned that, because that's a very common, I guess, like a crossroad decision that as a toy or game designer we need to make on whether or not to go self-publishing, creating our business, or just license our idea of the game to other, bigger company that already have the fund. When you make that decision, like what are the things that's going through your head, like which way to go, and what are the things you're considering to go either licensing or just do self-publishing?
I didn't really have any good connection to license to initially, so we set the idea to do it on our own because we were kind of naive and we thought we could do it, but we didn't know how hard it would be.
Yeah, that's a lot of work. Yes.
After the very first, we went to Toy Fair in New York in 2012, February, and introduced the projects there. But we made very few direct sales. We made some connections with different distributors, but one company offered us the next week to buy and to take over the control of one of our games, at least the Cover Your Assets. That was a game they really believed in. So we could have sold it off to them and just made a little bit of money from him paying us a royalty. But we felt that long term, if we could succeed as self-publishing, that we would have more gain from it. We didn't know we would make so many games. We have, like say, our 12th game will be coming out soon. So we didn't know what we would do over the years. But we didn't know how hard it would be either. Many of the people we met early on are not in business. Others have stayed in business, but it's not an easy thing to do.
Definitely not. There's a lot of additional step that people didn't realize. They thought, oh, it must be easy. It's just a box, a whole bunch of paper, but it's a lot harder than that. There's a lot of nuances. Just like you mentioned, the manufacturer could mess up, and the whole manufacturer batch now need to be discarded. You need to redo. There's all kind of other issue, especially dealing with like international businesses, tradings, and a whole bunch of other issue that people I think a lot of people they just don't know what they don't know when they
Right.
first
And we
started.
didn't.
So,
We were naive. But my kind of personality is that if I start something, I'm really reticent to not follow through with it. And I'm willing to put in the hours and the sacrifice to work towards a goal, whether it's one career or another career or family or whatever it might be. So it was definitely a lot of sleepless nights and difficult long hours and frustration in losing money and people make promises, oh, we can distribute your games and sell a lot, and then it doesn't work, or manufacturers, oh, we can do a good job for you, and then they come back defective. That wasn't the only defective run, but we've had other ones as well where the quality wasn't good. So it's definitely a lot of process, but that's how life is. When you want to accomplish something, if you set a high goal and you keep working towards it, it's just a matter of the chance of success is out there, not guaranteed, but if you stick with it, you have more chance than if you quit.
I agree. Yeah. And I can relate to that myself as well, because I also have been doing this for about 8 years. Also went through a lot of different kind of problem along the way, growing the business. And just like you, when I first started, I also have a corporate career. I was in corporate finance. And I think, and thank you so much for sharing your story and your journey on entrepreneurship and growing your businesses. And I know the success does take many, many years. Was there a moment when you realized that you finally made it, so to speak? It's like, oh, now finally the business is doing what I needed to do.
Well, I think maybe 6 years ago, probably, we made enough that year that I could kind of pay off the rest of the mortgage on our house.
Oh, well, congratulations. Yeah.
And then we
moment.
now we have our kids as shareholders and our artists, and so we're able to have the money that's distributed beyond the wages. We're able to help all the kids even if they don't work for us, and we sell we order games by 40-foot container, and we order like 8 or so of those 40-foot containers. So like more than 500,000 games a year. And so it's just it's really amazing to us that it's working, because there's so much competition in the world, games and getting the word out there is so difficult. But the advent of Amazon allowed us to be able to get access to people no matter where they lived. And so we first were just trying to keep up with them expenses on Amazon, and then but someday, like I think the first year we did like a Black Friday sale, we sold thousands and thousands of dollars worth of that one day. Now it's definitely improved since then, but like, wow, we sold more than we did in a year in this weekend, or something. So it's just a long process, but it is very satisfying to have it be working. And then the very first show that we're at, or the second show, there was a mom and a couple of kids there that were along with their parents that were like store owners, and the kids were like, they didn't want to be there. They were like, kind of annoyed. But, they kind of had an attitude problem. And so, but my wife had them sit down to play Have Your Assets together. And just 2 or 3 minutes, all that negative energy went away. They're laughing together, having a good time. So just seeing that, the way that the game could affect their lives in a positive way, just in minutes to improve their day. That was a good little hint, and we've seen that so many times since then.
And throughout your, I guess, the marketing side of the business, is there anything that you do differently that you will say that really attribute to your success over the long term?
Well, you have to create the ground game yourself. You can't expect any distributor or Amazon or anybody to make it happen for you, because games are so difficult to understand the value of from the outside of the box. It really does rely a lot on personal recommendation and word of mouth growth. So we spend a lot of time out there in the public, going to retail shows, but also wholesale shows, and giving away a lot of games to store owners so that they would play them with their employees. Anything we could do to get someone to play the game so that it would start to spread organically. Because that's really, the first show is that, it's like, wow, it's so hard to explain the value of this game because it's unknown quantity. It's a box with cards in it. How do they know if it's going to be worth playing? And so I'd see someone across the aisle selling a toy or a ball, which you could tell what it was, and immediately it was easy to tell its value. But in the end, even though it's a hard pickup, it can have a long life, which is our goal.
I see. And you mentioned earlier your game has been translated into 21 different languages. I think each country or different languages have its own nuances. Do you also run into different interesting story that you have, for example, selling in different countries, and any things that you would like to share as well?
Yeah, we didn't really put a lot of effort into initially to do international because we're focused on English-speaking languages. But as we've started to have those opportunities, the model we've decided to follow is kind of a localization distribution model where we try and find out the strongest partner we can in that language, and then we have them do the translation and make any adjustments they have to, and then let them kind of, because they understand their own culture and their own language better than I do. And so instead of me thinking I can impose my language on everybody or my game on everybody, we let them kind of try and keep the core look at the game, but then adjust if there's a certain name or word or title that needs to be adjusted. We let them use their guidance and wisdom on that.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So you work with a local partner instead of trying to translate it into all the languages yourself, because there's a lot of different local nuances that's kind of hard to understand. So
we had a licensing agreement with a German company for about 9 years for the Skull King game. But as we started to get companies wanted to go directly, we set up direct relationships. Then we canceled the licensing agreement, and now it's really starting to go well, especially in European languages. I think we'll sell 100,000 copies in French this year and 60,000 copies in German or something. So,
are you selling in Japan as well right now?
We have a partner in Japan for Skull King, so I think it's Skull King so far, and then in Korea, and then also in Chinese. And then we have a new we're still working on a kind of a Southeast Asia combined version, which will cover several Southeast Asian versions like Thai.
I see. So, and I think what do you really do? So you mentioned about the design where you get some of your family kind of role in the design. How long does it usually take on the design process based on your experiences?
The shortest experiences have been a year, and others have been, like, say, one game that one of my nieces has been working on. It's been like 9 years. She's been working with us on it. We keep kind of getting started, and then we take a pause to try and work on the mechanics a little more. And I think we'll probably get it out in the next year. But it's not like we're in a production system where we say we have to do this in a certain time, although certainly when we set a goal, we work towards a certain production run, and then it starts having deadlines. But we can have a lot more growth just by wider distribution of the products we have, even though we want to add new games. And the people who enjoy our games a lot of times want to have the whole collection, and so people are anxiously waiting for the next game. And so we want to satisfy those who are fans of our line, but we also know that we're only accessing a small percentage of the market with the games we have. And so growing distribution of our best known games, which we just are signing, we're just in the process of working out details with the biggest game distributor in the world for English language and also in other languages. So we have a lot of possibilities.
Okay. Nice. What is your vision in 2025? Like, how many more new product are you planning on launching?
I think we'll have 2 new games. We're going to add puzzles to our line with some of the artwork that we have. Those are we're negotiating for production, and we are going to have an expansion, which we haven't done before, for the Skull King game. With some new cards and some new features in an expansion pack. So we'll have 3 new puzzles, the expansion pack, and probably 2 new games for next year.
Oh, well, okay. That's a lot of activities and more thing to kind of anticipate as well. So as well, kind of winding down in today's interview. So, and thank you again for sharing your story, your journey, and the up and down and the struggle that you have faced. If you had to share with just like one piece of advice with someone that's getting started in the toy industry, what would that be?
Well, for most people, I suggest this kind of plan. If they have an idea for a game or a toy, make a limited number that's not going to make you go broke, and then do some local events at different, maybe Christmas shows or some local kind of venues where you can sell the game, and see if that creates kind of a demand of people looking for more of it.
Yeah.
And then if that happens, you can go into bigger production. But that way you don't put yourself on the hook really for something that could cause too much of a failure if perhaps you see a need to adjust the game, or if you're not getting the kind of feedback that you think you should get. And I would suggest not quitting your day job right away. Kind of, do it part-time. And don't keep yourself where you don't have to. Like one thing that put our first artist and kind of guide, he was trying to go full-time, and that ended up causing him to lose his business because it wasn't a year-round income. It was kind of seasonal.
Yeah, and it might be too sudden when it's not like fully proven yet. Yeah.
He had to get like financial backers to keep the business going, and then there was a disagreement because he only controlled a third of it. They could shut him out of the business, and so it had kind of a internal conflict because he couldn't self-fund it because he tried to grow too fast.
Yeah. That's definitely, and also it's a lot harder to borrow money from the bank once you become self-employed as well.
That's a lot of pressure. We luckily, other than a little bit of kind of home equity line of credit in the beginning, but after that we just kind of grew at a pace we could self-fund, even though it made me less well off in my normal life because I was spending money to be in business instead of making it. So we sacrificed, some kind of delayed gratification of not making money, not having money now, but working towards something later. And so we did that, and it keeps the pressure off of it. Unless you have a lot of big bank loans and things, that would be risky. You can go easily bankrupt yourself.
For sure. So, but thank you again for being on the show today. Where can people find you online?
We're really well publicized on Amazon. You look up Grandpa Beck's Games on Amazon, or searching the titles. Our website, grandpabecksgames.com, is shows all the games. We're in hundreds of stores, hopefully in the next few years, thousands of stores. And my phone number is in the bottom of every box, and so I've people can contact me with questions or send pictures of them playing the games. And we just love to hear that people are spending that time together, building relationships, and making memories with family and friends.
Okay, got it. I will definitely make sure we put that in the show note for you as well. And for our listeners, thank you for tuning in to today's episode of Toy Business Unboxed podcast. We hope you have enjoyed the conversation and find it insightful and inspiring. If you like what you have heard, be sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform so you never miss an episode. We really appreciate your support, and would love it if you can leave us a review and share the podcast with your friends and coworkers. For more resources, tips, and the latest update in the toys and game industry, visit our website at toy-launch.com. Join the conversation and connect with us on social media using the hashtag Toy Business Unboxed, and we would love to hear your feedback and suggestion for future episodes. Until next time, keep innovating, keep creating, keep bringing joy to toys. This is Jason Shea signing off on the Toy Business Unboxed podcast. See you in the next episode, and thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you.